This video is going to show how to rebuild the clutches on a standard NRC 40. This particular machine right here has pneumatic clutches, but it's the same principle to remove them. Hold the pin. Simply slide the quill assembly out of place. This one is the first station, so it doesn't have a clutch on it, but it will be the same process for any of the other ones. Right here we have a used clutch assembly from Resina Inline Capper, and we're going to show you how to rebuild it.
First you're going to find the set screw and use an Allen wrench. Got to loosen it. And then you're going to find this piece. Insert something so you can remove it. If you need more support, you can put a wrench and a pin and turn it.
Once you finish removing the outer housing, then you can remove the springs. There's 4 per side. As you can see, there's a little bit of rust on these ones, but they can be cleaned up and reused as long as they're not flattened out too much. Then we're going to move the thrust bearings. There's a 3-piece assembly right here. You got your bearing and your outer discs. Those all need to be cleaned up, re-greased, and put back. If there's any wear on the thrust bearing, you're going to need to replace it. Right now what we're doing is we're accessing the inner housing and the clutch cup and show what needs to be done there. Remove all the outside Allen screws. Right, you can see this thing's pretty dirty, so we're going to clean it up and get her all back to new. If any of your components are worn, you can simply buy some new parts from Resina. We got everything right here. So we're going to be showing you how to clean what you might have. You're going to want to clean up all the housing pieces first. If your U-joints are damaged or worn, you can replace the U-joints as well. Alright, this one's getting pretty clean. So we're going to go on to the next step. This is the clutch cup. You want to make sure that the bottom of the clutch cup is clean. If there's oil there, it can cause seating problems. Okay, we got a fairly clean clutch cup here. And then we're gonna start getting to the bearings. I'm gonna check these out to see if these are even reusable. These look like it's a good time to replace, but for this video's purpose, we're gonna clean them and put them back. All right. Isopropyl alcohol will also help with this, so you can make sure you get all that oil off. If you notice, the thrust springs have a little area for the balls of the bearing to roll in, so you know which direction it's supposed to be on. So now we got some food grade grease. Put a little bit of that on the bearing. Don't overdo this part. You want to make sure that there's a layer of grease across it, but you don't really want it to be pouring a bunch of grease out. Okay? Alrighty, and then the next part we're going to do is going to clean off the discs. Sometimes a light coat of oil on these discs after you wiped it off can prevent further rusting. In case you need to replace your clutch springs, check how many per side you have. Most machines come with 4 per side. However, some machines will require 5 per side. So just take a note of that before you place your order. All right, for this particular inner disc right here, it looks like it needs to be replaced. As you can see, there's a significant amount of wear. So you're just gonna need a new one of these. So this time, we're not even gonna bother cleaning this and replacing it because this one's toast. So we'll put that back in order. Now we're gonna replace this top plate. Get it all nice and clean and put it back on there. All right, now we're gonna work our way over to the outer housing. See, this one's got a little bit of excessive grease in there, so we're gonna clean that off. All right, it's looking pretty good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put everything back together and show you exactly how that goes. On your outer housing, you need to note that there's a set screw, and beneath that set screw, there's a little nylon plug. That's really important to maintain because if you have this outer housing on top of the inner housing with no set screw, it'll mar up your threads really bad, and a lot of times it won't hold properly. On top of that, it'll be very difficult to remove. One thing you're also going to want to check is your clutch springs. If you notice that there is no longer a V in the center, or that the V is very small, that means that they have been over tightened and they will need to be replaced. Now we're going to put everything back together. Here we got the outer housing on the bottom. Now we're putting the inner housing inside. Next up, you got your disc. And then the plate. Now we're putting the Allen screws back in. Want to tighten all of these up. Working just like you would a tire, doing opposite sides. Then we'll double check tension. Star pattern becomes very helpful for clutch components. All right, Now we got that housing tight. Next up is the bearing. Next up we got our clutch springs. 4 facing down, 4 facing up. Tighten that assembly up. And then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to measure it for clutch tension. The more you tighten the assembly clockwise, the tighter the clutch is going to get. The looser, obviously, the less pressure. Your set screws on the side, and for demonstration purposes, we're just putting this together, but we're actually going to test it on a torque tester and show how the setup is on that. For demonstration purposes, we're going to attach the disc onto the bottom. This just makes it easier for checking in the torque tester. All right. If there's any wear in your quill discs or they're the wrong durometer, replace. So what we're going to do is rotate the top and get a measurement of what it says in the torque tester. When torque testing clutch assembly, a little trick that's really easy is just to put an open-end wrench in the top piece here. It makes it so you can secure it nice. Then we're going to test torque on it. Right now we're not getting very much torque on there, so we're going to want to tighten up this upper assembly. All right, now we're going to check it again. Right now we're aiming for 25 pounds, so we're going to increase it. 25 pounds is pretty standard. Almost there, but a little bit more is needed. Right, that's close enough. So now we're going to tighten down the set screw. All right. Now your clutch and quill assembly has been adjusted.